good afternoon. Welcome to the 1 p.m.-ish, obviously Budget and Special Projects Committee meeting. I'm replacing Councilor Gilbert as the chair of this, since she's off in Alaska celebrating, what, her third grandkid? So
Granddaughter.
congratulations to her.
Her first.
All right, item number one, I call this meeting to order. We're gonna switch around the order real quick on the agenda, and we're gonna bring item number 3 to the table for discussion with representatives from the city council office and city administration regarding a summary of the 2026 mayor council retreat. So Sarah, James?
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Sarah Davis, Council Administrator.
James Wagner, Deputy City Administrator.
So we, at the end of the Mayor Council retreat this year, we promised to come back and summarize the themes and potential outcomes from the retreat. Marissa's coming in and she'll hand you out one of these papers that you see on the screen. As you'll notice, it's not laminated because they're not final until you say these were the themes of the Mayor Council retreat.
Going
So-
Mylar on us, are you?
Yeah, so, I just want to make sure that these are not locked in stone until you say you believe that this captured the themes of the retreat. But once you do that, they will get laminated and they'll become very official at that point, yes. So, in the retreat, we did this a little differently this year. There were 2 categories that we pre-decided that we were gonna talk about those. And so those were public safety and homelessness process. So just recapping some of the items that you all talked about. The prior year, you decided we were going to be the safest big city in America. But we hadn't really defined what that meant. What does success look like, and what will the public see if we are successful in being the safest big city in America? So under this category, there were 5 main themes, and these are really measurements. How are we going to determine if we are the safest big city in America? Now, the specific measurements under each one of these categories isn't defined yet. That'll be an action step for a future plan, and James is gonna go over next steps as we go through this process. And so, just to recap what you said, many people noted that we've had success on solve rates for violent crimes, but a lot of things related to challenges in reporting crimes, response times, proactive efforts, upstream and downstream initiatives, as well as some infrastructure items, especially like pedestrian safety infrastructure. Those were the things that were really highlighted, traffic safety, and then also code enforcement, which you'll see over in the new and emerging issues as well. And then on homelessness, you really were focused on the process. So what kind of process do we want to collectively go through in order to meet our homelessness outcomes? So at the time of the retreat, remember you had not received a presentation from Clutch. You had not received a Safe Move Tulsa update. And so we weren't really going into the details of those items. This really breaks out into 2 parts. The first part is determining what is our FY27 funding need. And so we'll be suggesting a focused process on FY27 as an initial evaluation. And then under part 2, those are a summary of the discussion topics that you all suggested going through the Mayor Council retreat process that would be important to consider as homelessness is discussed in the future for more of a long-term funding solution. And then finally, over on the other side of the screen, we left space to create new and emerging issues. The first one was infrastructure, and it really breaks down into 2 things. Planning for the future infrastructure, as well as more of a communication for public and internal. So how can somebody easily check on a capital project? What is the funding, or who is the developer on different projects? Next was code enforcement. And so while we looked at the long term, so the goal of code enforcement is usually voluntary compliance. But we also know we have a code enforcement backlog, and particularly in growing seasons, that were not able to get to all of the complaints that we received. There was also another communication element in code enforcement, which is determining for the public whose responsibility is an area or is not. So sometimes it's on private property, sometimes it's on public property. It can be hard to just look at a piece of property sometimes and determine whose responsibility that is. So that was another clear communication guideline. And the third theme was non-sworn pay. You all kind of recognize that public safety, more sort of sworn employees usually are covered in their contract negotiations, but there are employees who either don't have as strong of a bargaining power or are not covered by a collective bargaining unit, where you wanted to make sure that you were still prioritizing their pay for their efforts. And then finally, economic development had 3 specific areas that were really highlighted and given as examples. I think you can imagine who those came from, given their locations in this, but it was...
Jeannie's not here.
I know, Counselor Q
pretty
snuck,
shocking.
Counselor Q snuck one in despite not being a
City.
so Crystal City and Tulsa Hills area, Northwest Tulsa, and then obviously strategic growth areas, which in the retreat were kind of cited as Northwest Tulsa and East Tulsa as well. So that is a summary, and I'm going to give it to James to go over next steps.
Thank you, Sarah. So on the first one, I'm going to go back through kind of in the order that Sarah did to talk about what we'll do to execute on some of these. So clearly the one on public safety is around defining the metrics. Sarah said that. So we're going to approach that kind of in 2 different areas. So one is the departments that are under the Commissioner of Public Safety, Laurel Roberts. So I'll work with her to develop some metrics around the first 3 there. So recruiting, response time, code enforcement. And then the other 2 are really, they fall more into the public works realm. So, but I think the planning office could also contribute to that as well. So I think you're aware, a few years ago, we did some work to prioritize street lighting, for example. So I think we can partner with the Public Works Department to work on metrics for those and come back with some proposed set of metrics of what we would be using to measure those 5 areas. On the homelessness process, it really kind of the next steps are outlined right there. So over the next 6 weeks, we're going to work to develop essentially the budgetary piece for FY27, so that the homelessness work on that can continue. And then starting probably in May and through August, work on the longer term funding and really understanding the universe of homelessness programming with a small group. So that's what we're planning on doing for execution on that. And we'll cover all of those topics that are in those that bullet list there. And then on the new and emerging issues, I think the main one that really we're going to try to focus on is starting to think about what is the next capital package, right? So we have 4 years left on Improve Our Tulsa. It expires in 2030, and 5 years left on the Vision package, which expires in 2031. So it's not uncommon to start thinking about those kind of packages with a lot of runway so that we can do the right kind of analysis to determine what the capital needs are. So I think starting a process for starting to plan some of that would be the next step for that part of it. On code enforcement, we're working on a proposal that would potentially reduce that backlog of complaints. That tends to be the biggest thing that we hear is that, when people make a complaint or, file a code enforcement case, sometimes in the growing season, like Sarah said, it can be many weeks before there's even an inspection on that. So we're working on some process improvements, but also some resources to help make that a better process. And then on non-sworn pay, actually there is some news today on that. So the mayor announced today that there's going to be an SPI increase, and employees have been notified of this. So a step increase basically for the non-sworn folks that will be effective in April this year, and also for the for the exempts, basically an equivalent to that, which is around the 2 to 2.5% range. And then on economic development, I think those are kind of more nuanced, and I think we'll kind of work on those as they, in a more specific way as those develop. So those are kind of the next steps for those. And again, we're here really to make sure that this reflects in a very summarized way the 3-hour conversation we had at the retreat, and want to make sure that this is reflective of your priorities.
So I would ask, do we see this as a fluid thing, a living document, or do we want, are
Are
we
you
implying
questioning
that we want to
the
cement
lamination,
this?
or-
What?
And
Are
once
you-
it's laminated, it's,
That's
It's
what
the
I'm
Ten
saying.
Commandments
Because
there.
some of this, I don't necessarily agree with as
Well, that-
priorities.
that's
That
what.
this
we-
is-
Because
that's what
I
I'm
do
talking about. Which
agree
one don't you agree
that
with?
when we talk about, like economic development,
Mhm.
right, talking about specific areas specifically that have already seen growth and things of that nature.
Yep.
Like Tulsa.
I want to
Right, we're
look
gonna
at
talk-
it.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about, what sort of investments are we talking about for Crystal City? Of course, we have
You
IKEA.
propose those
Right.
onto this.
But you have seen development.
This is just
This
a
is just
summary.
So
Right.
summarized.
we're
And
just
I-
talking about summary.
And I
so
came in late.
But I
so
see
didn't
what-
know
I
if
see
you
what you're
touched
I
on
want
it.
to put it
Yeah,
in more
Not-
generic terms, instead of being
Okay.
location specific.
So this is just a summary document. So the locations that were mentioned in the retreat are the locations that were put up there. So the strategic growth areas, that can actually be very broad. I wouldn't call those specific. We already solved the Tulsa Hills issue with the IKEA thing.
I was thinking the
So,
same thing.
check. We just did that, we did that one fast because we
Yeah,
wanted
take it
to
off.
help Counselor Archie.
And the only reason why I'm saying this is because it's kind of selfish to come back to the table and ask for more development when you have a portion of the city that doesn't have any of that.
Any of it. Yep.
And so that's
Yep.
why I'm
Which is
saying
not
what
true
I'm
for
saying.
Charles.
So that's something that I've been
No, it's not
advocating
true
for in
Crystal
my
City. We
own
need
portion
more
of the
investment in
city.
Crystal City.
If I don't have a retail corridor, right, to match what is in around 71st and Memorial, because I showed a graphic to, when we were talking about a housing development, the distance between Tulsa Hills and 31st and 193rd, and the distance between Woodland Hills Mall and Tulsa Hills. So by rationale of planning, I should have a retail court in the distance, so.
We should.
Yeah, exactly, we.
So to solve for that, on the strategic growth areas, should it be infrastructure to help support housing and economic development?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Does that solve that problem?
Yes.
For me, it does.
Don't you think?
We can put economic development retail in parentheses.
Yes,
If it-
I guess I
Actually-
also didn't think it has to be, in my head, just to name as a quick, like, when I was thinking about Northwest Tulsa and Charles Page, which I know Council Hall Harper and I have talked about, like, the water infrastructure, there's that study and pieces. I'm not thinking, I'm just not thinking exclusively of retail, but, it's really any type of investment.
Any investment.
Yeah, just
Not
an
just
actual,
retail.
whatever makes
No,
sense from,
it's not.
because I don't think retail is always the most strategic from an urban planning perspective, so I'm just naming to me as just what invests in uplift
Right.
scenario.
So I would just put
Not that-
on the strategic, on that third point, and economic development, parentheses retail, I was gonna leave Northwest Tulsa and Charles Page alone just as broad economic development.
Yeah.
Does that work? Okay.
It does for me. All right, Counselor Archie.
No, I was just, my apologies, I was eating a late lunch. But, yeah, I think, Crystal City for sure, Red Fork, needs development, just keep it on there. I appreciate, is Mike Miller here? There was a
He
road.
framed us the other way.
Yeah, there was a road, hadn't been touched in maybe 50 years, that was in Crystal City. We got it repaved.
That's half of Tulsa.
Yeah.
We got it, we got it done. And so, let's continue to make investments on the west side.
We got both
For
of
sure.
Counselor Archie's done. Those are gonna go
No, we need a
He's
retailer.
closed IKEA and a road.
I will tell you this, I'm crossing them off my list, I'll tell you
Yeah,
that.
I
right
thought,
now.
let's all, yeah, let's
Wow.
just, sorry, Jeannie. Okay.
These guys, what's
Maybe you
going on
should- maybe
here?
you shouldn't have come
Crystal,
into the meeting. You were good,
Counselor
so.
Hughes is
I
the
am
one that
crossing
set you
those
up
off
really
my
well.
list.
I did the same thing just
Yeah,
for solidarity.
sorry.
Do you want me to move it to the bottom bullet point?
Look, as long
I
as it's
could
on
make it
there.
look less important.
No, because as I said before, you know, if we look at the investments that have been made when Counselor Q was here, they've been very significant. Some of those
Someone knew how to shake
corridors,
out a couch cushion.
especially where 23rd and Jackson is, the housing developments that are over there. There's been, what's the other one, the Destination District over there, Route 66 themed.
Red
Route
Fork.
Route 66 Main
Route
Street.
Red
The
Fork.
village,
The Route
Yeah.
66 Village?
right, those investments, none of that exists in East Tulsa, not a thing. So, again,
you.
I
But
do
you
not like.
almost got the crybaby.
I didn't-
Almost
I was deemed
doesn't
an
count.
unfit- I was deemed an unfit parent for that. So the problem for me is prioritizing investment where investment has already occurred, that's problematic for me.
And to piggyback on that, I mean, we have the NCI data reports that indicate the northeast as well as Counselor Bangles District shows the absolute need for infrastructure. Libraries, community centers, retail districts. I mean, I think we really need to go through with this budget, considering what the NCI indicates, where the needs really are.
I guess on language, so in my mind, strategic growth areas are North Tulsa areas and East Tulsa.
Mhm.
Okay, so do we have that covered then on this? Those locations that we're talking about?
I would, I think by the language of strategic growth areas, yeah.
Okay, well, how about if we move that one to the top bullet?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think it feels more more generalized and not specific.
I agree.
Because I didn't get $2.5 million to put IKEA in.
Well, we have the data to support the needs too.
Right.
I mean, that's
And then
important.
when we talk through action plans, maybe one lens to look through strategic growth areas are NCI data and those
Yes.
different
Right.
data points.
Yes.
I think those are all those things like maybe go in an action plan rather
Yeah.
than in a summary document.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thank you.
Perfect.
Well, if we're gonna get specific, I want all my flooding on my
I
district.
agree.
I want 200 million for,
Is that all?
no, that's just one flooding area, D9.
I think that's where that infrastructure planning
Yep.
effort really comes in,
Yeah,
thinking
it's
about
massive.
what's the next capital
We've got
package.
to do
What
that.
sort of bonding?
Yeah.
I know.
So you're covered.
Okay, well, we'll make those additions.
So
Bullet
can
point
we
moves.
give this back to
Oh.
laminate?
Oh, yeah, you can keep that
Make
copy,
make sure
because
to
I know
notes.
you've
Yeah.
personalized some of them. And so, then we'll get the laminated copies back in time for budget.
Okey-dokey.
Wait, I will,
Mhm.
only because they're not sitting here, but I know that this came up and was a sticky note. Do think it might be important to put under the public safety part in it, because I'm just naming, under economic development, you put some people specifically named wish listy things. If, under the same guise, potentially under public safety, I know that the oversight
Yeah.
element was explicitly stated as like a budget priority that had a lot of sticky notes with it. And if they were sitting here, I imagine that might be surfaced, so I'm just
Yeah.
flagging that as, maybe there's a way to hold space for that on the list.
Do people, so those on the economic development, because those were just the examples
No,
given.
I know, but I'm saying this is an example too.
Is there a consensus to put public oversight under public safety?
I don't know if it's, maybe that's not even, I'm just naming, maybe it's not even the right word, but that was something that was surfaced
Mhm.
that could have budget implications, and I wouldn't wanna not surface it now.
What are you talking about? You're
I
not
just don't
talking about
remember.
that charter amendment.
I don't remember discussing that. I think there were
Yeah.
stickies, but
I
that's.
think Vanessa talked about it.
She wasn't.
Oh, she wasn't, Lori said it for her, that was it. I know somebody,
Yeah.
again, sorry, they're both not here, but one of them would have said it, so I'm
Yeah,
just
I
saying
think-
it.
Well, my understanding is, these are all the things that we want to do. And so I'm not sure if that is something everyone wants to do.
Well, that's why I'm talking about it with you guys right now.
These are more of a summary of
What was discussed as a
more-
budget priority.
but also more consensus themes.
Yes.
So even in past retreats, things have been mentioned that still get worked on,
Well,
that
with
don't
the-
wind up on here.
Right, I'm just saying with the
Um,
dots or stickies or whatever we did, that one had a lot of
The dots?
dots.
Yeah, because
We did a whole
what I
dot
had dots
activity.
on did not show
Oh,
up
here,
on
they know.
here.
My
Yeah,
dots didn't show either.
I'll put these counselors on the spot as they walk in. We were just looking at budget priorities,
What
and
are
I
your
was
dots?
surfacing that we didn't have
My
the
dots aren't.
public oversight piece.
Well, no,
Made
'cause we just talked about it.
Oh,
No,
we did
no,
talk
no,
about
we
it.
talked about it in the budget retreat. You guys
And
are
it
more
was just tuned
versus
out.
to me. We did a dot activity where a lot of dots went there. I don't know how that tied into this.
Yeah,
I'm
got
just
you.
surfacing that, but this is, we're mutually doing some consensus work now, so that may not be the outcome of this conversation. But I wanted to make sure that that got surfaced. Should I keep
Where are
filibustering
those
while
dot
they read?
activity sheets? Do we have like,
Rolled up somewhere
Yeah,
in the-
we have,
they like
Yeah.
pictures
That one
of
has
them or
dots.
whatever? I don't think we ever actually went back and looked at them. We didn't. I know you
Yeah.
all did.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how you all tabulated the dots into,
I might have photos.
Okay.
These are your priorities, so you have to give us direction on what to update on here.
I think we should add oversight because it was mentioned in the retreat by Counselor Bellis, by myself. Counselor Hall Harper wasn't there, but I
and it had a lot of dots
raised
on the
it.
wall.
You had a lot of dots.
Yeah, there were,
We
we
did a
did an
start-
activity.
I think we start getting into just like,
My-
if we each say, well, I raised that, then we're gonna have like 8 of these.
Mhm.
How many
And-
pages
You
were
weren't here,
up
but we
there
just put a
that-
charter amendment proposal on the table about oversight. So if it is to pass, it should be funded.
Yeah, but,
Which I guess is a subsection.
I know, but
safety.
so last week I discussed something, should we put that on these priorities? If
No,
it could be,
is it going to the voters in August, potentially?
we don't know if this one's going to the voters in August.
We don't.
Right. So I'm just saying, are we supposed to put every single thing that any one of us discussed on here? Or what we were talking about before you got in was just, this is a high-level summary of the elements that were
Can I clarify just one thing?
broadly supported.
Public safety.
Go ahead.
Those were, when we talked about public safety, we were talking about measurements. And so some of, like, how do we want to measure public safety? So when we were summarizing, we were looking at measurements. So not so much, this is an initiative we want to fund, because that's how the question was framed at the retreat, was when we say to the community, we're the safest big city in America,
What does that look like?
what are the measurements that we want to, or what are the things that we want to create measurements for? So oversight's kind of more of a pathway that, there was also like animal welfare staffing, which you don't see on here, because that's not a measurement of what we did. And so that's what those are. So we can also clarify on this, these are measurements.
That would be helpful.
On there.
Because to your point, animal services is a priority and it's not listed here under the title of
It-
priorities.
It was a low dot one, though,
Yeah.
I will say. That was the one that actually was on the lower side, was animals.
But it's in the plan budget already, right? Staffing?
I
Plan
I
year?
haven't seen the.
No, for the fiscal 27 plan year.
I don't know that not a substantial increase in staffing was put in.
I thought we had that discussion last year.
Maybe 3.
Okay, something. It's not flat.
Staffing of what?
Animal services
Yeah, we
to
did.
With the new shelter.
on-ramp to the
Yeah.
new shelter. I thought that was in the plan year budget of 27.
There's something on here.
Well, it's supposed to be, and they're supposed to amp up, I think, to 9 staff.
So
Additional
this is, say that one more time, this is measurements?
When we talked, just on the public safety one, when we talked about public safety in the retreat, we said, how do we know we're the safest big city in America? So it was really more, what do you want to measure? So you want to measure response time, you want to measure code enforcement metrics, traffic safety. And you didn't get into those, that's part of the action plan, is developing what those are, infrastructure safety and recruiting. And so if you wanted to, I think you want to think, instead of putting like the word oversight, you would wanna think, what are we trying to achieve by oversight? So are we trying to achieve transparency and accountability? Or are we trying to achieve quick resolution of citizen concerns? Or, I think,
And some
I
financial
think-
risk mitigation.
I think that's, if you added something, you would wanna add, this is what we're trying to achieve,
outcome.
and then the action plan would say how you're gonna achieve
Yeah.
it.
So this would be like community trust
Oh,
or something like that, yeah. Okay. I mean, the recruiting retention ties to the recruiting and retention ties to the longevity and the SPI conversation we just had. So I see what you're saying, and the longevity was a request out of the budget.
last year's
Yeah.
budget retreat, yeah. Mhm.
I'm following now.
Yeah, so I think you would just put more what you're trying to achieve, and then if as you go through this year in your process, you decide that is through an oversight model, or that is through a website, or that is through you would put, yeah, you would put,
So
So-
increased trust and transparency
Yeah,
might
so
be.
not the
Yeah.
how, just the.
Just the
Yeah,
why, I
It
like
could be
that.
that.
increased
That's-
trust and
Yeah, like
transparency.
transparency and accountability.
That's a good idea.
increased
and-
trust and transparency.
Any other input? Perfect. Sounds like we've come to a consensus.
And we'll add the word measurements on there, so that one's clear on public safety.
All right. Anything else, Sarah James?
Nope, thank
Thank
you
you all.
All
very
right,
much.
thank you so
Appreciate the
much.
feedback.
I have one question, sorry. Why is non-sworn pay under new and emerging issues instead of public safety? Oh, non-sworn.
Yeah, non-scoring, so
Okay.
we just put it there because that was really the third part of your retreat,
I
and
got
so
it.
that's where that issue came up.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
Do you need me to-
Any other questions?
No, we're gonna leave,
Smells off.
we're leaving it on
No,
there.
we're not.
Crystal
What?
City needs,
I already said
We
we're
need-
not
no,
leaving
Crystal City is
Hills
being
on this
bumped
list.
to the third
right,
bullet point.
it'll be on there,
and-
but just,
And Northwest Tulsa and East Tulsa are going to become the first
The
bullet.
priority.
oh no, I thought it was strategic growth areas, infrastructure to help goes to the top.
No.
Yeah.
3 and 6 go to the top.
Yeah,
I know,
oh,
thank
well,
you.
Yeah, that's what I called Northwest. and
Oh,
East
But I mean,
Tulsa.
some of this is capital, so
No,
I don't know why it's on general
We'll
fund
see what-
discussion.
we'll see what
Doesn't
happens.
matter anyway.
IKEA and then go,
Okay.
development.
We need more
that
development
general?
on further west.
Is,
On South of School.
This
I know.
I'm just,
Did you see my
economic
eye roll?
development,
Something's gonna happen and
Oh,
My
no,
goodness, I
so
can't
when
believe how
we,
go off in a different direction
when
anyway.
we did the third part of the retreat, we didn't specifically limit people to the general fund or the operating fund. And so you actually, this was probably the retreat that I remember the most capital-based things coming from. And so we did create space for that, but the intention in that, and when James gave the recap, was to, do you wanna go
Sure.
do your part? I'll do it
Yeah,
for you.
so I mean, there was a lot of discussion about infrastructure, right? I mean, and so what I said a little earlier was, we've got 4 years left on Improve Our Tulsa 3. It ends in 2030, 5 years on Vision. And to get, together, of course, those are bond and sales tax combined, but together, those are 1.25% of the sales tax. So, starting the conversation about what does the next infrastructure package look like, the planning for it, the analysis of it, and then, the conversation about it, it's not too early to start doing that. And so that was the action step regarding that one, is to start working on that
okay.
this year. So that's not an
Outside of the
FY20
budget
Not an
process.
FY27 thing,
Yeah,
to
got
be
it.
more precise, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So how do we have input in that?
Well, so we wanted to get first consensus that you all were in agreement that that was a priority.
Okay.
And then we'll help kind of create a
And I
process.
came in late, so yes, that's staying on?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Nothing in that box.
Yeah, so we'll help
Okay.
to design and create a process that would include, all the elected officials in terms of, creating that, not only the process, but the ultimate product of that. So, and that could easily take a year. Maybe.
Maybe just 60 days.
Yeah.
Well, normally, we just talk to the department heads and they come up with the list and it's like, okay, do y'all agree? What if we is that pretty much gonna be the process?
I don't think we've even, we just wanted to first make sure it was a
We were-
priority
Yeah,
before we even
we were
take
asking,
that step.
do you want to start that process of discussion? If you did and you wanted, maybe in the process, I would recommend more of like a visioning session on the front end before that deeper work starts. And because that helps inform then the work of the departments, going forward. So, but yes, we're not to that point yet.
Not yet, no.
Okay, last call. All right, thank you, James, sir. We're moving on.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're moving backwards in the agenda. Item 2, discussion and update with representatives from the Office of Performance and Accountability and Municipal Court regarding fees, fines, and program outcomes. Ashley?
So you guys can go see.
I don't think I know what the Office of Performance and Accountability is.
I was wondering, I said, is this, is it Brian?
be the one who articulates the best.
Is it OPSI, but a different
But
name?
like I've heard it's like the
We need like the updated acronym title.
And then
list.
in scope of work.
But I don't know if they like.
Opa.
Yeah.
I think we also just says, you know, Ashley's department.
So yes, Ashley is in the Office of Performance and Accountability, which was formerly the Office of the Chief Data Officer, formerly the Office of Performance Strategy and Innovation, so yes.
Got
that's
it.
the
Thank
innovation.
you.
Good.
You can't keep up with that.
So Ashley, are you the presenter?
I'm going to present.
Okay, perfect. Take it away.
Great. So as James so kindly introduced me a little bit, I'm Ashley Heron. I'm our Performance and Innovation Manager, and I've been working with the team over at Municipal Court on some of their ARPA and CRF funded programming to look at some program outputs and outcomes. So quick preview of the agenda. We're going to look at what is all of the suite of programs that were funded through ARPA and CRF, then do a deep dive into evaluation for the 4 programs that are listed. So if you may remember back in November, I was here and we went through this same kind of evaluation discussion on the Service Oklahoma, that's the driver's license restoration program, night court, and court advocate. So now we're going to just continue on the same path for the next 4 programs. So this is a lot of information kind of hitting you at once, but I'll just kind of talk through these different areas. Each program evaluation was structured similarly, where we looked at costs, benefits, and then also results. So the driver's license test program is where a program participant receives a subsidized drive test in a guaranteed street legal vehicle with a Service Oklahoma or state-approved tester. This is the practical test in the car. So to give just a little bit more context, the way this works is that a judge typically makes a referral based on statements from defendants in court indicating that they may have trouble either getting the test scheduled or having a street legal vehicle to actually conduct the test in. So if the participant is eligible based on ARPA requirements, they'll receive information on how to contact the test vendor and to schedule the test, and also receive a copy of the test guide. The participant then schedules the test with the vendor, and the program only pays if the participant passes the test. So here's a little bit more on our estimated costs. The cost per participant for the first year of implementation was $161, and the cost per participant at what we're calling max capacity, there's basically the capacity to run 50 individuals through this program in a year. At that rate, it would be $67 per person. And that is a relatively high program cost for certainly in year 1, as we're seeing. But what I kind of want to highlight there is that much of that first year cost went to setup and contract negotiation, some of that administrative burden early on in getting a program up and running, and the investment in future years will be less significant. All right, so then if we, did I see a hand up? No, okay.
Well, I have a question, but I don't know right now. So the participants that's accessing this, who are they? Are
So
these
there are defendants who are at the court on
that have
in a variety
gotten
of
ticketed,
charges.
maybe
Yes,
have
ma'am.
lost their driver's license, and this is how they're getting it back?
Yeah.
So this is not 16-year-olds taking driver's license tests
No.
for the first time? Okay.
No.
I just wanted to make sure that.
Anything
Okay.
to add there?
No, and these are individuals who have their permit, they've usually, yes, lost their license for some reason.
Okay. This was after a fine.
What are the, like, you say ARPA, I don't want to interrupt you.
I'm good.
ARPA requirements, is this like low income, or is there, what is, to qualify for this program, you mentioned just in passing, there are certain requirements. Is that income requirement, or like the judge sort of?
They qualified, you said they qualified for, yeah.
So first and foremost, just broadly a judicial referral. Generally, it does have some sort of like low-income need articulated during their arraignment or their conference in front of a judge. Generally, they can also be from qualified census tract as well. And broadly, because they are individuals impacted by the justice system, they do fall under the demographics that ARPA requires because they've been impacted by the justice system.
Okay.
Okay, great. So just to kind of go over some of the benefits, each program we're reviewing benefits to participants, the city of Tulsa, and to the general community. So here, obviously, the participant benefits from having a safe vehicle to test in. There's decreased disruptions to life, decreased risk of further penalty, and ability to get to that legal status for driving more quickly. For the city of Tulsa, this program decreases the number of passes where folks have to keep kind of coming back into court to check in and give status updates and work on this issue. So that decreases the general volume there at the municipal court, and that helps them operate more efficiently. And then finally, for the community benefits from having more compliant drivers on the road. So now to go into a little bit more in terms of results. In the first year of the program, there were only 11 participants, and they had a 100% pass rate. So for that kind of low participation rate, with the other programs funded by ARPA CRF, some of which we've talked about, we see that over time referrals grow. As people become more familiar with the program, they make more referrals. And then also important to note that more than 11 folks received information about the program, but these were the 11 who really followed through with it. So then the next couple numbers there are related to case outcomes. The number of participant cases that were dismissed on cost was 91%, and the number that were amended to a lesser charge was 9%. So that, to put it in a little bit better context of the next bullet point, the average cost of two program participants, if their case is dismissed on cost, is $86.20. And that's compared to this pretty hefty fine of a couple $100 and up to 90 days in jail if convicted. So the next two, the recidivism within a year of offending for all traffic offenses was 36%. And I do just want to highlight quickly here, there's the term recidivism, and it's used in a couple additional slides later on. And there's kind of been an evolution of how the term has been used about whether that means that they did reoffend or they did not reoffend. So here we're saying recidivism is people who did reoffend, 36% did end up reoffending within a year. Reduction in staff costs for warrants at max capacity, not a huge number, but something, about $40. And just a quick rundown of demographics. For race and ethnicity, we had most folks being Black, African American, or African, non-Hispanic, and housed. There's one note here on a couple of things that we put down as areas for future inquiry, potentially be able to go and look at those further, but we didn't do that analysis for this presentation. All right, so moving on to our Financial Empowerment Center. See, I've taken such ownership. The Municipal Court and the Financial Empowerment Center. This is a program where residents who are already on a court payment plan meet with a FEC counselor to help them improve their financial stability and earn non-cash credit to be applied to their court payment plan. So I'm going to give you just a little bit more context there. The cost compliance staff or a judge can make a referral to the FEC program, and after that referral and they're in the program, the participant sets up a time to meet with the FEC counselor on site at the municipal court, and they can meet with the counselor as many times as they want. If the participant completes 3 sessions, they're able to qualify to earn a $250 non-cash credit to apply to their court payment plan balance. And then they can earn additional non-cash credit for $100 per visit, starting on the 4th visit. So that's kind of how that non-cash credit piece of that works. All right, so then when we look into costs, our life of project, that's what LOP means, life of project, estimated cost per participant for those participants who completed at least 3 sessions is $341. So for, you can see a couple of our demographic factors here, age about in early 30s, primarily female, primarily Black, and English speakers. And at the very bottom, it's in very small text, you can see the different council districts where program graduates are hailing from. Most are coming from District 1. So we put together this typical client profile to kind of highlight, based on these demographic factors and some of the outcome figures, that the typical client for this integration is an African American woman in her 30s with an average balance suspended of $95, that's with the court, an average debt reduced of $925, average savings increased of $281, and having an average of 3 sessions with the FEC. So then to jump in a little more detail on some of our program results. So the number of participants who completed at least 3 sessions were 346, and you can see that big jump in the number of participants in year 2, and that really is based on a higher level of referral. So then the balance that was suspended, so that's that non-cash credit that's being applied to the balance, is sitting right about $40,000. So the financial results, these are more so those results that are like individual to the participants. The total amount of debt reduced is over $390,000. Percentage of debt reduced is 6.5%, and that is the amount of debt, okay, the percentage of debt reduced is the amount of debt reduced divided by the total amount of debt recorded at the first appointment. Just for a little clarity there. So for savings, it's almost $120,000 of savings increased. And then this one I think is very impressive. The number of clients who increased their credit score more than 35 points is 36. And the number of delinquent accounts that were reduced, and these are not court related accounts, these are external accounts, of 141. So we really haven't gone into these case outcome results, we just noted them down as areas for potential future evaluation.
Do you know how much the whole program costs in those 2 years?
Yes, I don't have my computer up, but can we, does that, do you have your computer?
That's a good question.
Okay, we will grab that for you.
Okay. Is that just for that's just for FEC total or FEC?
FEC program with the
The
municipal
court.
court.
It's like
And that was just for, and
$150,000
that was
a
1
year,
year,
right?
2 years.
That was 2, oh, that was 2 years. That was 2 years.
I think we budget $150,000 a year for that
Do we
piece
have like
of
a
it.
cost per person served for?
Yeah, was
No,
that,
but like for, is that all, I wasn't sure if that was all in programmatic.
It was the
that's
year
just the
one,
court-related
integrated.
FEC, not the FEC?
We have
That
the
was my-
FEC leadership here, if they.
Okay, I'll table that thought, but yeah, you know what I mean, I mean like all in, is what
I don't know, probably a different discussion, that's probably where I'm going.
Yeah, okay, that's where I'm thinking too.
So these numbers are everyone that was involved in the court system at some level.
The
They were
F-
referred from the courts to the
That are-
FEC.
The people who are participating in the FEC programming available at the court.
So they're not going to
We're talking about
FEC, they're not going to FEC over on?
It's embedded at the
Yeah.
court.
It's
be
on-site
embedded.
at the
Yeah.
court.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Right, but it's the
that's
same
what I'm
thing.
saying, I just want to make sure they weren't going to
It's the
that.
same thing, but, so, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's clear.
This
Okay.
doesn't count the numbers out for Sheridan.
Because that's not funded with ARPA, or is it? What's happening on, no, it's 30th person Yale, right? Isn't it on Yale?
Yeah, I said Sheridan, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's funded through the budget.
Through the city.
Right, but this is ARPA dollars,
This whole
right?
initiative was seeded by $7 million of ARPA, or 6.5, or whatever it was.
Okay.
I think we
Yeah,
have that
so
figure.
for the program year cost, which includes admin and that kind of thing, it's $59,000 per year.
We can't hear you down here.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you speak up?
For admin costs, including admin costs, it's $59,000 per year. Or are you guys wanting more of like the budget ask for that?
What's the total cost to have this embedded program at the municipal court?
59,000.
59,000.
Per year.
But
Per year.
remember, last year
Per
we
year.
had a conversation that this doesn't exist without what's happening at Yale.
Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
At least
The
that's what I
person-
It's
recall.
too hard
personnel.
to split it up. I
Yeah,
think.
it's not like a
I think we're paying-
standalone.
I think we're paying to have them there, but I'm not sure, yeah, one can't exist with the other, without the other.
Well, that's fine. Okay, a few more points in terms of the benefits for the program. For participants, they're spending less at court through non-cash credit. They're increasing financial literacy, and then as we saw on the previous slide, there's reductions in debt that we're seeing, increased saving, and improved credit scores. For the city of Tulsa, this goes back to kind of the volume dynamic. Folks are kind of moving through their payment plan and closing out their cases, which is reducing volume. And for the community, the first one's a bit anecdotal, that participants' savings are likely, the savings that they achieved are likely being spent in the community, and that community members have less debt. That's kind of an overall benefit to our community. I'll pause there. That was the last slide on financial empowerment. Did y'all have any additional questions, or anybody from the assembled crew have anything to add? Okay. So next we have, I don't quite want to put that on the screen yet. For Special Services Court, many of you know a ton about this program. It's been around for a while, but in summary, it's a 6-month diversion program for individuals affected by mental illness, substance use disorder, and homelessness. There's a lot more that you could say about how the program operates, but that could be an offline conversation because we don't have time to do it today. But I did want to highlight a couple of key timeline points that I think helps give some context for our discussion. So in 2014 is when Special Services really launched, and there were about 100 participants in the program at that time. The service providers were engaged and providing their services using funding that they were obtaining from the State Department of Mental Health. And I'm just also flagging that data collection, it did happen prior to 2021, but it wasn't quite as robust or quite as consistent. And then in 2020, as we all know, the pandemic hit, and that significantly impacted court operations, and the virtual sessions that the court was holding was really difficult for the program population for Special Services. In 2021 and 22, we were in a post-pandemic period, but the impacts were still being felt. We saw the program participant numbers increasing slightly to 145 and 137, 2021 and 2022 respectively, and this was around the time that the Fees and Fines Working Group from here in the council recommended doubling the docket for Special Services. So during 23 and 24 was really kind of that expansionary period, where we saw the participant numbers going up to 295 in 2023 and 333 for 2024. So we see that upward trend starting in 2023, anticipating the ARPA funding, but the formal second docket was added in February 2024. And the service provider costs transitioned over into ARPA funding in August 2024 and will continue that way through September 2026. And we were made aware that there really isn't future funding available from the State Department of Mental Health for the service providers in the way that there was in the past due to kind of state level cuts and different things that are happening. So to go back into our costs, program estimated cost per participant is $539, and cost per graduate is about $1,200. The difference there is a participant is someone who's entered into the program at any point. They started the program, but they may not have finished. So the number of graduates is a little bit lower. And I do want to note that that cost there is for the whole 6 months of the program. For our demographic factors, you can see there primarily between 18 and 54, a bit more women than men, and predominantly white. So in terms of benefits, there is a decreased likelihood of reoffending for participants, the ability to get resources on site and to connect with a case manager, and to kind of have a different view of municipal court as less of a punitive place and as a place where they can actually get connected with resources and help. So for the city of Tulsa, one of the big benefits of this program is decreased jail costs. We'll look at that actual figure here in a moment. Then for the community is decreased recidivism rates and increased stability for our community members. So to jump into the results, so here I'm just kind of isolating these numbers to the period of 2023 and 2024, where we were kind of in this expansionary period we discussed. So there were 628 overall participants and 280 graduates. So recidivism here, we have the figures for 1 to 6 months and 6 to 12 months. Here, what I want to note is the probably better way to, the better term for this, I keep wanting to say desiccation, and that is not right. That's say
Non-recidivism.
Okay, no.
Non-recidivism is easier.
There's a fancier term for it that I can never remember. But basically, this is the proportion of people who did not reoffend. So we're going to start calling that non-recidivism. Okay, because it's kind of been used in different ways over time. So the total amount of graduate fees and fines waived, $45,000, and then the average per graduate was $163,000. Jail cost diverted was over $750,000, a very significant sum, $825,000.
Wait a minute, I'm not seeing what you're talking about. Is this the white slide?
It's over on that right-hand side. But wait,
The numbers you were saying, I
We
don't
can
see
get this
them.
as a handout,
when this says,
be helpful.
It would be
Oh,
very helpful.
recidivism.
but wait, but that says recidiv, so are you saying that's non-recidivism?
It's non-recidivism. In
Okay,
the
because I could
past,
read that.
It's kind of been been
Yeah.
portrayed as recidivism, but it means the people who
Have not reoffended. Okay, that's why I just
So-
wanted to triple check. 'Cause
Yes.
It reads at a high
Confusingly.
percentage
Yeah, it does.
reoffended. Okay. But
they
okay,
did.
but they did it.
They did not
That's
reoffend.
so successful outcome.
Yes, not, it's the good outcome, not the bad outcome. Yes,
The
okay.
reverse context.
Right.
Yes, okay. All right, so I'll pause, pause for questions, or?
But jail cost diverted, $825,000 in jail costs were diverted because we had 628 people go through that program. So if you take 825 divided by 628,
That's the
what is
cost
that?
per
That's
sheet.
I don't know, $1,000+ a person. And the costs are $1,300 a person for graduates.
Can you elaborate on what jail costs are? To feed them?
To book
What
them
are some-
in and then the time that they would,
Say again?
to book them in and then the time that it would be that they would serve, the amount of days they would serve. It's like an average time that they would serve for their specific crime.
No, I think.
So I meant like the
Like a
regular,
Yes,
the
like
cost.
like the-
With the regular, what is
Like
that?
the step, like.
So staff, obviously employees, but whatever.
Why is the-
Feeding, electrical,
if they- okay.
everything would then to operate the jail. And then they divided it out by participant to get a number correct.
Is that right?
The-
What you just said?
Yeah, Sherry is
Okay.
definitely the expert. This cost per graduate is not related to the jail costs, though. That's related to the amount of administrative time the service providers working on the
Oh,
program.
no, but there's, but it's
But you're talking about a
it's
different
cost and a
calculation.
savings.
Yes, precisely.
Well, no, this is the cost, 1210. The savings is
I see what you're
$1,315 dollars per person. So we're making $100 per person for every person that we put through this program.
Right.
We're making,
I always
is
like.
that what you said?
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
net,
Cost saving.
We're
Yeah.
Net positive.
Yeah.
net positive, that's what it
Yeah, because we didn't have the jail costs, right? Or we didn't have the jail costs.
diverted.
In some of the situations,
But you said jail cost diverted.
right.
So does that
this is
mean
only
that we-
counting- we avoided the jail costs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you take 825, 858 divided by the 628, and that equals
Wait,
$1,315.
is that assuming a certain recidivism rate otherwise? I'm just trying to.
These are just the number of people who went through whether or not they recidivated or not.
They look
So-
at their individual charges and how, what
Oh, okay, so it is
recommended
very
jail
much.
time would be for that charge.
Yeah,
And
I
that's how
see.
they're creating a spreadsheet that tells them how much was saved. Is
Oh,
that-
wow, okay, so it's like a
We're
very
on a
precise
episode of
number.
Parks and Rec.
It is.
Okay.
If they would have been sentenced to jail and served.
Yeah, it'd cost us.
Yes.
Almost
So
$1
there's
million
an
bucks.
assumption being made, but that's how the calculation is.
So it's saving resources and better outcomes for citizens.
According
Making them more successful.
according to very high-level math here, not knowing every single thing on these two slides, but if you do a little bit of math on this one and apply it to the number on the other slide, it looks like this program is saving $100 per person. We could put them in the jail and cost ourselves $825,000, or we can put them
And
through this
cost
program.
them
Even more.
Oh, you don't even
time
know.
away from home, lost wages,
Lost
maybe
jobs. Lots more.
evictions,
Lots.
children get taken away, all manner of things.
Yeah.
So,
Housing,
So a lot of other costs of burden.
Vehicles.
that's just
No, I'm
us.
sticking with that.
the one question I have about this, and I don't know if it's a Counselor Lakin question, and I'm wrong,
Did you check me out on recidivate?
when,
Yeah, it keeps auto-correcting like it's not a word.
Oh, Laura knows what the answer is.
when we
much
first
for scrap.
looked at this, we had
All
a
right, I'll find it.
data point from the
Yeah,
equality
you did.
indicators.
Mhm.
Counselor Lakin, I'm talking to you.
I was trying to make
Do
sure.
you remember the data
recidivate
point
was
that
right.
Monita High provided to us that said a very high rate of arrests were warrants, unpaid
Yeah.
warrants, failure to pay, failure to appear,
Right.
which is like a poverty indicator. Do we know if all this work has also impacted that?
Yes, if
That
they
data
haven't
point.
gotten to it, then, and maybe.
'Cause that was like
maybe
the
you are.
original impetus, I think,
For all
when
of
we
it.
started looking
Well,
at this.
a lot of it was just reminding people, sending out the postcards and stuff like that, reminding people to show up so they don't
Yeah.
get failure to appear.
But I don't, I mean, that data was
We have a
provided.
higher attendance rate, so arraignments back when we started, they were in the 40, so that's your initial court appearance is your
Yeah.
arraignment. Those were back in the 40% range. I think now they're in the 55,
Oh, no,
60%,
we're in the
mid-60%.
So
And so
that's huge.
that's your
50%
major
increase.
marker on warrants,
Decrease
is
in
that
turnover.
initial
Failure to
appearance rate.
appear.
Right, and that's what's creating those. And so I think we went over that a little bit more maybe in the last
Okay.
presentation and some previous ones in previous years, but yeah, warrant rate and reduction rate are one of the things that they continue to look at, but your arraignment appearance rate is a really good indicator.
So that's
But-
better, and then the
Okay.
driver's license restoration's better. Like, there's a
Yes.
bunch of these things that we were saying is not great. Let's go ahead and make these investments and pilot it out, and they're
And
improving.
So they continue to still work on the driver's license things as well, and so getting those programs, so now that you have Service Oklahoma embedded, now can you more define your driver's license programs to even reduce maybe some of your docket load as you go forward? So I know they're working through that now, they're probably not ready to go with that
Sure,
one
sure.
yet, but I know they're working on that.
What kind of outcomes have you seen on failure to pay? Because we made paying options more accessible. I mean, you didn't.
I'm not seeing in the jail many arrests just solely on what we call a cost arrest warrant, which is a previously called failure to pay. It's
But-
generally an open charge and mostly fail to appear. You can get out of jail for $100 on any cost arrest warrant. If you have 50 cost arrest warrants, you can get out of jail for $100. So
Okay.
no matter how many you have, it's a $100 fee. And then we apply that to one of the cases that are open towards your fines and fees.
But on failure to, on payment options, we implemented more payment options. We didn't shut down the window between noon and 1 or 12:30.
Shut down again.
Oh, it is?
Because of
But that's
staffing.
finance that has that, not us,
Okay.
yeah. And for breaks.
Some of the payment things too, until they get their new system in play, I don't think they can do some of the payment options until the new system.
But we
is
do have a
live.
cost compliance section now.
It's gonna be amazing when we get to the
When you
1990s.
can make virtual
With our
payments online.
technology.
Yeah, it'll be
We could do a
absolutely
credit card.
amazing.
Yeah.
But we do,
Or whatever.
Meg's team
So
is
online
cost
even.
compliance.
It's illegal.
What were you saying?
Meg's team, we have a new cost compliance area, and they sit down and go over payment plans with individuals. So they don't have to come in necessarily to see a judge, depending on what the situation is. They have the authority to like renew a payment plan without having to spend time in the courtroom. So that's been a very successful program, I would say.
And your staff is doing that?
Yes.
Okay, you're making those decisions?
And they see them at extended times too, so it's not just during a morning docket. They can see an individual up till like 4:30.
And I'm during night court.
It only costs $50 to get out of jail if you play Monopoly. I had to look that up.
That is true, isn't it? Yeah.
So the Service Oklahoma, that's a state program, right?
Inflation
And
adjusted.
state funded?
Yeah, it's like formerly DMV, Service Oklahoma.
So is that cut?
We currently pay for it through the ARPA to have that person here.
we would love if the state
So,
would like to.
so that, I'm just saying, the state ain't gonna pay for that. We gonna have to.
We've been having those conversations, but you're right, the answer so far has been no.
Alrighty, we have one program left to cover, the transportation assistance. This is where eligible defendants receive a free MetroLink Tulsa single ride tickets for future court appearances. So basically, a defendant is eligible to receive a ticket or tickets if they will reasonably use it to fulfill a court obligation. So the cost per unduplicated participant, because a lot of people get more than one ticket, is $26, and the cost per single ride ticket distributed is $9.31. For our demographics, the big one to highlight here is about 39% are transient, and then I'll also add that roughly 80% of the participants are referred from the jail docket or special services and are assumed indigent. So to look at some of our results for the life of program, so we have 3 years of program data here. Unduplicated participant count is 1241, number of single ride tickets 3256. Appearance rate for participants, so this gets a little bit more granular into some of that appearance rate figures, is basically 85%, and that is compared to 63% overall for the overall appearance rate, as Sherry was just indicating. So this definitely is heading things in the right direction. And so this next point of participant cases in bench warrant status as of January, so this is the percentage of folks who have an active bench warrant because they failed to appear, was 13.5%. That's the 3-year average, and that's compared to about 37% for the general population. So 13.5% in a bench warrant status versus 37%. So we can see some big change between those two numbers. Yes.
On the demographics, the transient at 39%, these are probably unhoused individuals?
Yes.
And
That's what you mean when you
they're-
say transient?
Yeah, they're occurring warrants.
So these are participants in the transportation assistance program, so they're receiving tickets to come back to the court or fulfill other court obligations. So that particular number, the transient, is just program participants. That doesn't really have any relation to the appearance rate or the bench warrant rate.
So
Okay.
they're vehicle related.
So these are folks who are receiving a bus ticket to come back to court. So they could have any type of offense that they're, at the court.
Okay, like setting up in a boat and then
Sure.
jaywalking and then they're
Stacked charges.
So,
But it could also be some other type of, this is pretty much any offense. Someone
Yes.
could get a bus ticket. But the largest, a significant proportion of folks who are getting those bus tickets do happen to be transient. And, yeah, don't have a way to get back to the court.
right, well, how would they know in the first place?
About the program?
Well, about, if they don't have an address, how are they gonna know in the first place?
They're gonna be at the court. They're usually referred by a judge or court staff when they're already at the court. If they failed to appear, then no, they
Then it's
wouldn't
another problem.
know about the program.
Then it just compiles if they fail to appear because they're, okay. Yeah, that's a high number.
They gotta show up first,
Well, yeah,
right,
but,
and then.
Yeah, but
right,
how do
'cause
they
How
know-
do you get them to show, to begin
right,
with? I get what
well,
you're
I
saying.
mean, they'll get the citation, but what if it gets lost in a sweep?
A high percentage of these participants are gonna be people who were in the jail in custody, and as they're getting out of jail, they're offered
Okay.
a bus pass to be able to return.
Okay. So that's a
That
high
makes sense.
percent.
Yeah.
And so over here, in the end of the results, you're saying that before, the number was 37%?
So the overall number, if you just compare the general folks who are coming through the court, there's a bench warrant status for 37%. That basically means they failed to appear. But for the program participants in the last 3 years, that
Reduced to
bench
those
warrant
numbers.
status, goes down to like 13.5%.
Do we have information on the bench warrants and the reasons they're issued and the citations that brought them to the bench warrant?
I'm sure that, I'm not.
I would be
It could be
interested.
The original offense, you mean?
Yeah, I would be interested in what accumulation of citations brought them to the warrant and what sort of citations they are.
For this program specifically or just kind of generally?
Generally, I think it would be good to have that data parsed out.
Historically, the highest warrant rates in court are driving under the highest charges that are in jail have been driving under suspension, no insurance and tag,
And trespassing.
and now trespassing.
Trespassing, probably
Trespassing.
a lot of these are,
Yeah.
I would venture to state that a lot of these are trespassing.
Trespassing.
Probably not a lot of DUS here, because they don't own
Yeah.
a vehicle,
Or,
but it
yeah.
could be that their vehicle broke
Not yet,
down.
probably
but,
not for,
yeah.
for this population, but just
Yeah.
in the court, in custody in general.
And larceny,
I have a question concerning the acceptance rate for participants, which is 84, I suppose it's an average. So 63% is the overall, so it's trending down. What is what's the?
It's not trending down, it's just comparing our typical person, just a typical person who's scheduled for a court appearance. We have an overall 63% appearance rate, just across the board, all cases coming to court. But in this program, if we just look at the individuals who received a bus pass, 84, almost 85% of them are appearing. So that's what, 22% more.
So it's working.
Appearance rate.
They're using the bus passes to come to court.
Yes,
What
exactly.
I
At those numbers.
Maybe we're just we're missing each other. So the first year, 92% of those folks that
Oh,
received the
the
bus pass.
overall,
The second year, 82%.
That's what he's saying, trending
So we're
down.
trending down. Can you maybe break down, why do you think that is? And, I mean, obviously, we want to continue it. Maybe how do we bump those numbers up?
I think the high rates in the first year, if you look at the number of participants, it's only 437, so it's a smaller population.
Okay.
I think overall, the numbers are normalizing and kind of reaching more of like sustained average.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would agree, year 2 and year 3, there is trending down, and there may be some opportunities for improved appearance, that 3% rate. But overall, I would expect to stay in the 70s
Based on
range.
those numbers,
Yeah.
you are staying flat, basically,
Yeah,
so.
you look at the population, total population.
That we see on that third.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Alrighty, last slide. This is just kind of an overview of the benefits. So to participants, obviously, they increase the ability to return to court, even if they don't have their own reliable form of transportation. They increase their ability to appear, which keeps them out of bench warrant status and or jail. And a couple other things that we've listed here. For the city of Tulsa, there's really, as we've been discussing, a huge benefit to increasing those appearance rates, and it supports compliance with court obligations overall. Then for the community, there are potential for easing the burden of transportation assistance from family and friends, and the bus is always eco-friendly. So that is the end of this presentation, but I think we did a lot of the Q&A during the slides, but if there's anything else, we can certainly take those questions.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Or did we go all out during the
I think
presentation?
it might be helpful if we got a copy of the presentation
Is it in the
by
back?
email or something.
Is it in the back?
Yeah.
it's in.
Is this in the backup, Ashley?
I thought it was, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I feel like some of these numbers were in the
Yeah.
discussion different than, or maybe we just talked about them in a different way. The 59,000 and.
And then the cost per participant, those numbers?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Maybe.
What was the
Yeah.
cost for
Updated
Service
backup.
Oklahoma being in the courthouse? What was that cost?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Do you know what the cost was, Sherry, for?
It's about 68,000 a year. That's just what we're paying on the contract.
Okay.
You have it, Andy?
For what? What's the
Co-
60?
Service Oklahoma.
It's the cost of their employee, and that's it. They're charging directly the payroll cost. And there's a
70.
small technology fee we pay each month as well.
Yeah,
Do
so
you have that?
72,000
72.
72?
per year is the actual cost, yeah.
I think that might be the discrepancy, Counselor Dr. Wright.
Mhm.
In some of our presentations, we've discussed budget cost, and then some of our presentations, we've discussed overhead, like all the costs.
Correct.
So that 72,000 is what we actually pay Service Oklahoma.
Okay.
It might be helpful if we just had like a one sheet with line items. I'm not saying from you necessarily, if it can be pulled out of Munis or whatever, but just so we can see you know, FEC is 59,000, all the different components of the overall program,
We have that, yeah.
right?
We have that.
Okay, it would be good if we. had
Counselor
that.
Lakin.
Yeah, and I mean, there's one slide that says there were 11 driver's license restored or something like that. Is that the correct number?
For the first
Drive
year of
tests.
program. Yeah, drive tests. Not, yeah, that they had completed the drive
Yeah,
test.
what
yes.
else happens with that person who we're paying $72,000 to?
That's Service Oklahoma, those are different.
Yeah.
Oh,
programs.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So help me out with it.
So those, going forward, we're asking for about $2,000 for the driving tests.
Yeah, okay, so what happens for the 72,000? That's where I'm going.
Oh, yeah, so Service Oklahoma is embedded within our courthouse, and they
Yeah.
can go and get, like, they get if they are in compliance with us, they can go to court records, get a compliance letter, go over to Service
their driver's
Oklahoma
license.
and get it renewed. Or-
They can
Yeah,
reinstate their
is
license
there,
right there.
is there a slide on the benefits of that?
There-
Have we tried to estimate what the benefits are?
There was in the first presentation that we did in
Okay.
November,
Yeah, I just
but I'm
can't
sure we
remember.
could make sure that you guys have that.
Okay.
That set aside's fresh.
And then with respect to budget-related stuff, what, so what are you asking for? What are you hoping for? Like, I guess the broader question is, if we only have X amount of dollars, so you're gonna make a request for X, and somebody's gonna say, we only have Y. So if you had only Y, which programs would you keep? What's the order of those programs? What's
So-
producing the highest returns and benefits, quantitative and
Yeah,
qualitative?
council
And I would put in the
completed
plan
a
there.
technical change last year,
Yeah.
so unless you're gonna take that away, our programs are 100% funded for FY
Okay,
'27.
so we don't really have to worry about it,
It was a
but-
$227,000 program cost for the year, and you guys funded that.
Okay.
Now, in FY '28, it'll be a little bit more, it's like 340.
347,
Yeah, so
440.
we,
From 227?
yeah, because it's a 9-month program year, and then ARPA's gone, and then it's a full year. But for what we need going forward is still we have 10 grant-funded positions that we're trying to get transitioned to the general fund. We have asked for 2 of those to be transitioned this year, and then 4 in '28 and 4 in '29. So that's the most important things, I would say, is if we don't have the people, we can't have the programs, and we can't even operate court the way we're doing today,
Mhm.
which is, we're already beyond capacity right now. So
Yeah.
there's no way we could lose these 10 positions.
Right, but that's what everybody will say.
I know,
because they
I
come
know.
to us.
But we mean it.
I
Come
know,
to the
they don't,
courthouse,
I know. Silly fire and police.
I know,
They don't,
right?
they
But
don't
they
really,
mean
they
it.
don't really.
They
need it.
really do mean it, more than anybody else, right?
I know. Well, I would just be prepared, so you can answer that question at some point. If somebody says, we only have 250 to give you or 200 to give you, then you know which positions to really vie for, which programs to really vie for, based upon all this information you've taken the time to analyze.
Yes,
Good.
thank you.
Good.
All right, last call.
Here's the Service Oklahoma, if you want to give him that's stuff.
Okay,
The last
thank
presentation.
you. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Ashley, Sherry, thank you. Appreciate it. All right,
Thank you.
item 4, we are adjourned. Thank you.